Today we're going to review the bid grid screen and the options available for you, as well as setting up the screen for every time that you log in to be the exact same depending on the machine you're working on. So the first thing we want to cover is the menu. In the upper left corner, you'll see bids, local database, and options all as buttons. If you were to left click on each one of these, you would get a different option available. Now in this case, if you click on bids, and you scroll down, you'll see the edit, and this is where you can quickly open up bid properties or refresh a bid. If you were selected on a bid, you could also manage the images or the scenario properties. Now in this case, if I go and I search a job, and if I were to select on that job and click the bids option, you'll see that those options are available for us now. If I scroll down, you'll also see that there's a recent option here. Now this recent option is for you to very quickly be able to go in and find recent jobs that you've worked in inside of the Edge. Underneath the Options button, you'll notice that we have Preferences. Preferences are where you can go in and change company information, for example, like your address. If you had a logo that you wanted to load in as well, you could also load in a logo. If you're a customer of ours, it's using the User 1 or User 2 field, commonly known as the account code or phase code fields. You could click on the program features, and this is where you would see that information available to you. Also, if you are a company who wants to have project conditions on by default, you have that availability here as well to be able to select that checkbox. Also, if you're a roofing company and you don't see the ability to use a pitch, here is where you can turn on the pitch at the page level. There are additional features and functions out here. But right now, we're not going to focus on those. We're going to just highlight the main things that a lot of people ask about. So continuing forward with the bid grid overview screen, ultimately, you have your breadcrumbs here at the top. Now this is going to be used for navigating backwards in the program. You'll notice that we have bids, and as you move forward, you'll get a scenarios, you'll get a sections, you'll get a pages, and you'll get a conditions breadcrumb as you're working inside of that project. Again, those breadcrumbs are there for you so that way you can move backwards in the program to back yourself out of the job you're working on to go back into another job or to create a new job if need be. On the upper right, you'll notice that we have the estimating breadcrumb. Now this is how you would access your database if you needed to make any database changes. Simply left click on it and you'll access the database. Here I'm going to left click back on bids to take me back to my bid grid screen. Directly below the breadcrumbs, you'll notice that we have a filter or a search bar. The search bar is ultimately looking at the bid name, and any letter combination that you put in here, we're going to find the jobs that have that same letter combination, and we're going to present those to you so that way you can quickly access the information and not have to scroll through the long list of bids that you have inside of your project. Furthermore, you'll notice that as you hover your mouse over these columns, some of them will highlight orange. Well, if you were to left click on any one of these columns, you would actually filter in an ascending pattern by the first click. The second left click would put it in a descending pattern. And the third left click would put it back to just our normal default, which is an ascending pattern starting with special characters, then numerics, and then alphabetical. You can also left click and drag these columns around to be able to organize this column header row in whatever way you would like to see it. So in this case, if I backspace my search bar here and hit search again, it's going to present all of my jobs to me. And if I wanted to, you'll notice that we're in an ascending pattern starting with numerics. If I click it again, it didn't change because it's ascending pattern. If I click it a second time, you'll notice now we're in a descending pattern. And again, click it a third time and back to just the default view. Again, to move your column, simply left click, drag, left click, hold, drag and drop, and you can organize the screen however you want. Now it's important to note that as you are making modifications to the bid grid screen or to any of the screens that you're manipulating the columns, it is specific to the computer that you're working on. So if you have two different computers, say you have a home computer and an office computer, well, make sure that on your home computer and your office computer, you set them up the same way, so that way you don't confuse yourself as you're getting into the projects, and you'll have the same view across the board. Again, I'm just left clicking, holding, dragging, and dropping, and that's allowing me to change those column locations on the screen. If there are more columns than you want to see, ultimately, you can move over here to the right-hand side. You can click the columns drop-down, which is the little 3 horizontal line icon there, and you can uncheck any one of these boxes that you don't want to see, or you can check any one of these boxes that you would like to see for the information to be presented to you on this screen. Additionally, you have the plus button here. This is to create a new bid. You have a refresh button directly to the left of that to refresh this list. For example, if you were to unarchive a project and you needed to see it again, this is how you would be able to see that project. You have this drop down here. This is ultimately another filtering drop down that you have. In this case, I'm viewing all bids, but if I wanted to go in and view just my bids, I do have that option. And at the end of the day, if I wanted to see all of the jobs that I have checked out, I could view all my checked out bids and make sure that I check them in before the day's over. Now, the last thing that I want to cover with you on the bid grid screen is in the upper right hand corner. You have a couple icons here. Now, the question mark is ultimately a quick access link to our YouTube page. So if you were to click on that, it's going to take you right to our YouTube page, and it defaults to the roofing 6 steps for this point in time. Ultimately, click on our logo here, or our name on the left-hand side. Once you do that, you can then pause the video so you don't have to hear that noise come through. You can click on the Videos tab to be able to go find all of the videos that we've produced for you to watch to get additional training, or just to see if there's something out there available that you might not have known about. The next icon that we're going to cover is the little gray help man. If you left click on that, that's going to take you directly to our support page. And one of the most commonly requested items are keyboard shortcuts. So if you click on that little gray support guy, you can type in the search bar, keyboard shortcuts. Here are our keyboard shortcuts. And now you can either scroll through this list, or if you would like, you can left click on the PDF and you can download this PDF or print this PDF to have it readily available for you. The next option that we're going to cover is the gear wheel. The gear wheel is going to be a quick access link for you to access the administration portal. So if you left click on that, you'll notice it's going to take you right into the administration portal. Now, one of the handy things about that is, let's say that I was selected on a job. In this case, I'll find my job, left click on the name, and I'm going to go forward just into the scenario here. So we're selected on our scenario. If I were to click on the gear wheel while I'm at the scenario, well, it's going to take you to that project on the administration portal. So that way you have the ability to either click the actions and go view reports, or if you wanted to, you could lock this scenario so that way nobody could make changes to it. Now, I know we covered a lot in this video, not all about the bid grid screen. However, I wanted to cover all of the icons that you have the availability to click on while you're looking at this bid grid screen once you first log in. If you have any additional questions or you run into any issues as you're making modifications, please reach out to our tech support team and they'd be happy to assist you in any way they can. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.